Hi everyone, Nick Creticos of Nick's Seasonal Decor, and today you're watching me on Hometalk, and I thought we would design one of my all-time favorite wreaths, which is a hydrangea wreath, and I know a lot of you guys love hydrangeas and love designing with them, so we're going to be designing a fall wreath today using shades of brown, moss green, and this kind of ivory off cream color as well. Of course, we can add some tones of orange and traditional fall colors, but I kind of like my wreaths to be a little bit more subdued for fall. So what you're going to need is at least 9 hydrangeas, 3 of each, and you can pick these up from Hobby Lobby for $7 each, 50% off, so $3.50 a stem. And you're also going to need an 18-inch grapevine wreath. Feel free to use a coupon. Hobby Lobby does 40% off all the time, off one item. Michaels does 50, and sometimes even AC Moore does 60% off, so you can save some money from that. Feel free to choose whatever size frame you want. Again, we're dealing with 18-inch just because I find it to create the most large wreath. You could also obviously do a larger wreath or a smaller one, but you just have to compensate for your hydrangeas. So what I'm going to do for starters is I'm going to pull off the foliage. We're actually not going to be adding any greenery to this wreath other than the foliage that comes with the flowers. So don't feel as though you have to go out and purchase additional greenery. So I'm taking all the leaves off and I'm placing them to the side. Each cluster has 3 leaves, and these are nice quality fall leaves, as you can tell. And whenever I design with flowers, I always like to use greenery that matches the flowers, so these definitely look like hydrangea leaves. We also have an assortment of berries and picks, so we can add those, and we're also going to add some pumpkins later on. So today's video is not a live video, it is a pre-recorded video. So I am going to be in the comments section answering any questions you may have. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them, and I'll be there live this Sunday at 7 p.m., answering them for about 45 minutes. So if you have any questions, feel free to bring them. But today my sister is helping me record. Many of you guys know Alex at this stage. She's my go-to for video work, and she'll be asking some questions she may have that she thinks you guys will have along the lines. So I'm just cutting each stem a little bit short. I'm only leaving about a 2-inch stem. We don't need a super long stem for this. So again, I picked up 4 of each, but we're going to start off with 3, see where that takes us. And again, I pulled off all of the leaves beforehand. And just to show you real quick, they just slide right out very easily. Okay. So, one more flower to cut.
Hi guys.
Okay. So I'm just pushing everything to the side now, and we're going to see what this looks like with just using the amount of flowers we have. So all I'm doing is I'm just taking the stem and I'm poking it into the grapevine, and we're just going to play with this for a second to see if we want them to be closer together or further apart. I kind of like these hydrangeas to be placed right by each other. So I am probably going to end up using 4 of each. But even at 4 of each, at $3.50 a stem, you're looking at less than $30 or $40 to create a beautiful wreath. So let's break down 3 more. We've broken down 3 so far. So let's break down 3 more.
Are you going to hot glue the flowers in, or could you use a steel pick machine?
So that's a great question. Whenever I design any wreaths, I always make sure I use a substantial amount of hot glue. For these stems, since they're quite thick and sturdy, we don't need a steel pick. And for those of you that may not know, a steel pick is just an artificial stem that makes it easier to insert into styrofoam and into grapevine. But I feel as though we don't need that in this case. So now that I feel as though I like them to be a little bit closer together, of course that's just a personal preference. What we're going to do is we're going to start hot gluing them in place. So me and my sister are just going to switch sides so you guys can get a better view. Right here, what we have is a glue skillet. This is something that I get asked about quite frequently, and it's one of my most asked questions, what it is. It's essentially just a giant skillet or pot full of hot glue. The hot glue dries and hardens. Well, it hardens, it doesn't dry when you take the plug out. And then once you put it back on the heat, it reheats and melts the glue again. So I don't use a glue gun. This is what I use, and if you are interested in this, we will put a link in the material list that is pinned at the top of the page for those of you that may be interested in purchasing some of these materials that we're using. So we're just going to alternate every single color.
If someone wanted to use some foliage in this, what would you prefer? Or what would you...
So we're going to use this foliage that comes with the hydrangeas, and you'll see in the end how we add it. We're going to place it around the perimeter and the interior as well. But if you wanted to use other foliages, you certainly can. You could use some ficus leaves. I do recommend doing this on either a styrofoam wreath or a grapevine wreath that we're doing it on today. And you may lose a couple petals along the way, but that's totally fine. So as you can see, I'm just alternating colors. We've added the darker moss green, the lighter cream, and the brown. And now we'll just keep repeating this pattern. So this is probably one of the easiest wreaths you can create. And in the end, it'll be stunning. So far we've used 2 of each.
I think you could also keep half of it and put a letter on one side, and it would be really
pretty. That's a
pretty.
great idea. So you could definitely stop halfway and add a sign or a letter. I don't think I have one to I have a sign. Of course, this is Christmas because you guys know me as the king of Christmas. But imagine this is a monogram. You could flip your wreath around and add a sign or a letter or a fall sign. That'd be really cute. So give this video some hearts if you like what you see so far. And I'll try to think of some questions along the way as well. You could definitely replicate this design using other flowers other than hydrangeas. I personally like the look of the hydrangeas because they're perfect spheres and they create a nice wreath, but you could also use dahlias, you could use roses. Truly, the sky is the limit when it comes to this. But we're almost done with the wreath so far, and that took no time at all, so this project is very easy to create. And of course, you don't have to add any foliage if you don't like. You could incorporate a bow. You could essentially add whatever you want. I want to add a little more hot glue to this one. But for these designs, I personally don't like adding a bow. I think they're stunning alone like that. So let me know what you guys think of that so far. I think it's very simple, very cost effective. Since we're only using 4 of each, so 12 total hydrangeas. And you can even pick up a bush from the Dollar Tree, and rather than cut them individually, you can just clump them together, place them with a wire. So it's quick, just show you guys what this looks like with nothing on it. Oh, let's hang up our easel. There we go. So very pretty, very simple. You could space out the hydrangeas a little bit more, but once we add our foliage and our pumpkins, you're not really going to notice if there's like gaps in between them. But if you are precise and want to get it exact, you could definitely measure them out and place them accordingly. So let's get back to the table and we can begin adding some of our foliage. So like I said, we're going to be using the hydrangea leaves that came with it. So rather than hide them completely, I am going to place them all the way around the wreath, just like that. And we'll place them in between each hydrangea. So these are something you could add a steel pick to if you want to reinforce the stem a little bit. But I'm just simply hot gluing them in place. So these flowers are flowers that they carry year-round at Hobby Lobby. And they have other colors. So if you want to design this for a rustic Christmas wreath, they carry reds, they carry greens, they carry every color, blue for 4th of July. The sky is the limit when it comes to these hydrangea wreaths. So like I said, I'm just placing a leaf in between each of the hydrangeas. And if you wanted to measure those out, you certainly can as well. So we have a couple more around the perimeter, and we could also tuck some in towards the interior as well. Okay, so here's our last leaf around the perimeter. And isn't that pretty so far, just having a few leaves like that? And of course, we have a lot of leaves that are left over we could use for future projects. But now what we'll do is we'll just come back in towards the interior and place a few more leaves. Typically, I don't do this. I don't place foliage going towards the middle. But in this case, I think it kind of adds to it and hides any imperfections from the hydrangeas. So we'll tuck in some of these. And I'm also placing the ones on the interior a little bit deeper in the wreath versus the ones around the perimeter. That way they're not obstructing the circle too much. So all I'm doing is just hot gluing the stems in. And again, for those of you that are just joining, if you don't mind sharing this video, I greatly appreciate it. We love to inspire as many people as possible, both on my page, Nick's Seasonal Decor, as well as Home Talk. That's the whole reason for both of our pages, is to inspire others to be creative and crafty and DIYers. But this is what we have so far. Isn't that very pretty? I love the colors of this. I think these still scream fall without the orange. But of course, you could add some orange if you want. Here we have some grapevine pumpkins. These I like simply because they just are a natural product. So if we wanted to poke in some of those, we can. Of course, if they mask the hydrangeas a little bit, it'll just hide any more imperfections that we may have. And these came from Hobby Lobby. They were $3.99 plus an additional 40% off. But if you wanted to use some orange, you certainly could. They have orange hydrangeas, which look like these. Let me just turn around real quick and show you. So here's the orange ones. They didn't have enough in stock at Hobby Lobby, but these are the same price and the same style as the other ones. So if you wanted to switch out one of the colors, you could use the orange. But here we have some grapevine pumpkins. You could also use some of these velvet pumpkins. Aren't these really pretty?
Yeah, I like those.
I like these a lot. So they have these in kind of a cranberry color. They have them in whites. They have them in creams. They have them in orange, of course. And we also have these darker brown pumpkins that we could add if we wanted to. I'm not in love with these in this design, so I think we'll just stick to the grapevine as well as these little ones. So I'll just break off some of these and we could poke them in. So these came from Hobby Lobby as well. So I'm just breaking off some of them. We may need more.
Those look so soft.
Aren't they? Yeah, they're velvety. This is like, what is it, ASMR. But it has a nice texture on these, so I really like these. And what you could do with these is actually use a steel pick machine. I'm going to hold off on doing that just because I know the mass majority don't have a steel pick machine, and it's not necessary by any means. So what we can do is we can just poke in a few of those if we want, or we can keep it classy and my personal favorite, which was with nothing on it. But this is just showing you guys some ideas as to what you can do if you don't want to just have hydrangeas. And I kind of like my things to be slightly hidden. So although you might not see it all that much, if you take a closer look to it, you can see the little pumpkin sticking out and poking out every which way. But I'm kind of a designer where I like my things to not appear at first glance. So I like things to kind of catch you by surprise, and the more you look at it, the more you notice things in your wreaths.
For the grapevine pumpkins, you put them in a triangular pattern?
Yep, that's a great question. So I did place them in a triangular pattern. We didn't hot glue those in, as we are just showing you guys it for inspiration. But if you wanted to use those, you can just add a little hot glue. They come with a nice steel pick on the ends. Not a steel pick, a nice wooden pick. So let me pull this out. I mean, it's in there pretty good. But it just comes with a wooden pick that you can place into a centerpiece or an arrangement, or in this case, a wreath. And all I did was I just poked it in the grapevine. So if you wanted to keep this wreath up year-round, you certainly can, because we're just using neutral tones. And if you wanted to add some pumpkins for fall, you could just place them in like this and take them out once fall has ended, and you have a beautiful wreath for year-round. So we have a lot more leaves. I didn't even pull off all of the leaves. So all of these, if you guys want to see them used in a future Home Talk tutorial with me, let me know. Give me some likes, and I'll be sure to use these. I am a frugal designer, so whenever we can save money by using leftover products, I always like to do that and give you guys inspiration as well. So here's the finished wreath in all its glory. That didn't take long at all, yet we ended up with a very professional looking, beautiful fall wreath that translates to year-round use very easily just by taking off the pumpkins, making sure you don't hot glue them in if you do want a year-round wreath. So we've just completed the wreath. Now I'm going to hang it up on my easel so you guys can get a better view. But all in all, I'm quite pleased with how this turned out. Like I said before, you can make it your own just by alternating the colors. You could do whatever color scheme you want. If you don't like the pumpkins, you don't have to add them. You can keep it simple. Or you could use more substantial pumpkins that you can identify as a pumpkin a little bit better. Like I said before, I like my designs to have things that you don't notice at first glance. You notice at the second and third glance. So I like the grapevine pumpkins and the little velvet lime green pumpkins as well. But if you guys have any questions, I will be live in the comment section answering them for you. So feel free to leave a comment and I'll get back to you right there and then. But as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this. A quick idea is to use other color hydrangeas. You could use all of these and it'd be a beautiful wedding wreath or a year-round wreath. And like I said, if you don't want to hot glue the pumpkins like I didn't, you could take them out and use them elsewhere, or store them away for the remaining seasons and just keep up the wreath as a year-round wreath. Or like Alex said earlier, which was a great idea, you could add a monogram or a letter in the middle or on one side. If you don't want to buy 12 hydrangeas, you could always just buy 6, do a half design, and place a sign on one side. You know, truly the sky's the limit when it comes to ideas, and I hope this video was inspirational to you. If you guys don't mind liking this video and sharing it, I greatly appreciate it, and I'll see you all in the next tutorial. Bye, everyone.
Bye.